Hi, my name is Sarah, and I'm 15. My childhood was a little unusual, let's put it that way. I didn't have a normal family. My parents died when I was a baby, or at least that's what I'd always been told. I didn't have a place I could call home either. I was passed around among relatives like a perpetual guest that wasn't truly welcome anywhere. By the way, have you subscribed to the private diary channel yet? Now is your chance. This is my story. I remember staying with Aunt Clara. She was obsessed with keeping her house clean. One day, I tried to boil chocolate in the microwave to make a sweet treat for her. And as a result, the bowl was ruined, the microwave was covered in chocolate, and I was in tears. My aunt looked like she was gonna have a stroke.
Sarah, you're sweet, but I need to mind my blood pressure. You'll be better off with another family.
That's how I came to live with my great uncle Seraphim. He was really cool. He always wore a tie like a true gentleman, even while eating scrambled eggs. I tried to be good, honest, but one day I found a chest full of fancy clothes in his basement. How could I resist? I put on dozens of hats and dresses and set up a museum of antique clothing right in the attic.
Sarah, you're like a comet. Bright, beautiful, but too destructive. You need a childhood, not a museum.
I had to pack again. Next, I stayed with my cousin Jenny. At first, we got along just fine.
We're gonna have so much fun.
But I asked too many questions about her work, about her exes. Once, I even snuck out and I followed her on a date. Are you serious about her? Or are you gonna break her heart?
Sarah, you're sweet, really. But being your family is too hard for me right now.
The last person to take me in was my grandfather's nephew, twice removed. I don't even remember his name. He didn't say much and just played video games all the time. It was clear my presence was bothering him.
Listen, I can't take this anymore. I'm taking you to an orphanage.
An orphanage? No, anything but that. I was ready to do anything to not end up there. I pretended to be sick and I hung up posters. A cheerful, kind girl is looking for new parents. But no one wanted to take me in. The day I was supposed to be taken to the orphanage finally came. I was sitting on my suitcase and swallowing back tears. Then a woman wearing dark glasses appeared. She was brimming with such confidence that I immediately tensed up.
I'm Paula Gray. I want to adopt Sarah.
Who is she? Why me? But the thought of living in an orphanage scared me more, so I just nodded. She lived in the next town over. Her house was gorgeous. The interior was minimalist, neat, and a little cold. Paula had security guards, a maid, and a cook working for her. It was all very practical. She didn't buy me brand new phones or a ton of toys, but everything she got for me was of high quality. There was one thing that bothered me though. She always locked the door to her study. I was forbidden from coming near it. Paula was strange, calm, always busy. Sometimes it felt like she forgot I was even there. I didn't understand why she took me in. Why adopt someone if you don't want to be their mom? I was afraid of ruining everything. I was tired of packing, moving, and hearing, "You're a sweet girl, but..." So I tried my best. I did my laundry. I didn't make any noise or ask any questions. I hoped that if I were good, Paula wouldn't abandon me. Sometimes I found myself wanting to call her mom, but I didn't dare. What if she didn't like it? What if she also thought I was too much? Paula transferred me to a school not far from our house, and I quickly made a bunch of friends there. I simply talked with everyone I met. I'd lived with a bunch of people and had changed several schools, so I always had a story to tell. Everyone seemed interested in listening to me. I once held a wedding for my neighbor's cat. I was staying with some relatives of mine at the time. I don't even remember who they were. That cat looked so sad. So I found a stray, called her Bella, made her a veil, decorated our yard with rose petals, and sent invitations to our neighbors. Everything was ready, and I was standing at the altar, but Bella ran away, and I got yelled at. I was only 8 at the time. I just wanted the cat to be happy.
Sarah, it's like you're from another planet.
I was enjoying life at school, but then everything changed. One day, I saw a guy no one else seemed to notice. He was sitting in the corner of the cafeteria, eating alone and not talking to anyone. "Hey, why are you here alone?" He almost choked on his food and looked at me like he'd seen a ghost.
I'm always alone.
Then my friends came up to us and said,
"Sarah, why are you talking to him? That's Gustav. He's like a loser. His mom's a janitor here."
"So what?"
Well, He's weird.
That's when I realized I couldn't stay friends with them any longer. They judged Gustav by his mom's job, and I didn't want anything to do with people like that. I kept chatting with Gustav. The next day, I realized that I was now considered a loser too. No one wanted to sit next to me anymore. Everyone in the group chats ignored me, and one girl even pretended she didn't know who I was. Whatever. Gustav turned out to be a cool guy. He showed me around town, took me to an old bakery that made amazing chocolate croissants, and even introduced me to his mom. She was super kind and almost burst into tears when she'd heard that I'd stood up for her son.
Thank you, Sarah. You're very kind.
Her words made me feel warm inside. Even though I had only one friend now, he was a real one. Over time, I settled in and I grew more confident. Paula now trusted me to do grocery shopping and sometimes asked me to pick up documents and parcels for her. I'd also learned where the best donuts and cheapest toothpaste were in town. However, I also noticed something weird. The people in shops, pharmacies, and cafes tensed up whenever I told them who I was living with. I was adopted by Paula Gray.
Ah, right. Yes, how nice for you. Is there anything else you need? The bag is free, just take it.
One day, when I was in a bookstore, a sales assistant whispered something to me. Paula Gray is a prosecutor. Everyone is afraid of her. We all have weaknesses, skeletons in our closet. That came as a surprise to me. On one hand, it was cool that Paula was fighting for justice, but on the other hand, I didn't know who I was living with. That was just the beginning. One day, Paula gave me a ride to school. A security guard came with us. It all looked so official. I felt like the president. Everyone saw me get out of that black car and lost their minds.
Do you really live with Paula Gray?
Did you know she's a witch? Her daughter? Well, something happened to her, and no one's saying what exactly. But everyone is afraid of Miss Gray now. At first, I didn't believe them, but I couldn't get their words out of my head. I kept wondering, why did Paula always lock the door to her study? What did she need security guards for? Why was she so cold? That was when things went from bad to worse. First, someone left a stinky, disgusting rag in my locker. Then, someone told our teacher I cheated, even though that was a lie. And then I was locked in the locker room. I sat there for half an hour until the janitor opened the door. Why would anyone do that to me? I didn't hurt anyone. We tried to figure out who was messing with me, but whoever they were had been careful. We couldn't find anything. No evidence, no witnesses. I started to fear that it was somehow connected to Paula. Well, why wouldn't I be suspicious? It all began when I mentioned I was living with her. Everyone started to avoid me. My classmates grew suspicious of me, not to mention the bullying. And then Paula suddenly turned into a helicopter parent. It was like I was a jewel and she was the alarm installed to protect me. One evening, she looked through my phone without permission. It wasn't the first time, and I exploded like a pressure cooker. Are you stalking me? Am I a prisoner? I have rights. Paula froze, then sighed heavily and sat down. I was expecting her to shout at me and tell me to go pack, but I was in for a surprise.
I'm sorry, Sarah. I crossed the line. I'm just scared. I had a daughter before you.
She told me her story. It turned out her daughter had died. Paula had been working all the time. Court hearings, cases, criminals. She had no time for her family. One day, her daughter went for a walk and did not come back.
I still blame myself, and now that I have you, I'm scared that I might lose someone again. I'll try to give you more space from now on.
For the first time, I saw Paula not as a prosecutor with an iron will, but simply as a person. For a moment, we sat there in silence. Then she hugged me. I thought she may not be as scary as everyone kept saying. The next day, I came to school in a good mood. I ran into Gustav's mother by the entrance. Good morning! But she just scowled at me and turned away. Why was she giving me a cold shoulder all of a sudden? I decided to find Gustav and ask him about it. I walked around the hallways, but he was nowhere to be found. Then I came to my locker and saw him put something in it. Hey! What are you doing? He flinched and tried to run away, but I grabbed his backpack. Was it you this whole time?
Yes, it was me! Leave me alone!
Why? You were... You were my friend! It turned out that his mother had told him Paula had put his father in prison a long time ago. Ever since then, Gustav's mom had been working as a janitor and barely making ends meet. Gustav harbored a grudge. He decided to get revenge, and since I lived with Paula, he targeted me to get back at her. That was mean of you. You should have told me the truth to my face instead of pretending. I trusted you. Besides, I shouldn't be held responsible for the things Paula did. I turned around and left. It wasn't the things that he'd done that hurt me. It was the betrayal. Gustav's words stuck in my head. What if it was true? What if Paula wasn't a good person? What if it was more than just a rumor? When I got home, Paula wasn't there yet. I decided that I deserved to know the truth, and I went to her study. The lock was easy enough to pick. I used a piece of wire and soon heard a click. I quickly looked through the papers in Paula's study and found a folder with photos of myself at different ages. What the heck? Paula had been watching me for a long time. Then I saw another folder with newspaper clippings. There was one about a car accident among them. A man and a woman had been trying to escape from the police and crashed. Only their 1-year-old daughter survived. She was sent to her relatives after that. My heart sank. That baby had been me, and the cop chasing that car had been Paula. I was shaking. Did that mean she was to blame for the death of my parents? Had she known about this the whole time and kept an eye on me? I couldn't breathe. At that moment, all our bonding moments felt like a lie. I packed my backpack, took some money, and left. I didn't even leave a note and just walked away. I didn't know where to go. I didn't have any relatives left. Well, the orphanage was always an option. It was in the next town over. I got to the train station, used all the money I had to board a bus, and fell asleep. When I woke up, I realized that I didn't know where I was. I'd gotten on the wrong bus, and I had no money left. I had to walk and then hitchhike. That only got me halfway to the orphanage. After that, I walked down the highway. It started to rain. I was soaked to the bone and shivering. My teeth were chattering and I couldn't feel my hands. A car stopped next to me.
Hey, are you okay?
I couldn't answer. The world blurred in front of my eyes. The last thing I heard was,
"Call an ambulance, hurry!"
I woke up and saw a lamp on the ceiling, an IV drip, and some beeping equipment. I was in a hospital ward. When I turned my head, I saw Paula sitting next to me. She had huge bags under her eyes and looked tired, but she was clutching my hand tight.
You're fine. They found you before it was too late.
Of course they did. You probably installed a tracking app on my phone.
Okay, I did, but I just wanted to be sure you'd be safe.
Do you really think following me around like I'm a criminal is the best way to do that? You're the criminal and you know it. She looked like she was about to cry, but she didn't say anything. You're the reason my parents died. I found the article. I know everything.
They made their choices. I saw their car weaving along the road and breaking all the traffic rules. I turned on my flashing lights and followed them, but they didn't stop. The police were already looking for your parents. They were accused of theft and forgery of documents, and they knew they might end up in jail. I wanted to stop them before something terrible happened, but it was too late. Luckily, I was there to save you.
I tried to hold back tears. I didn't know what I was feeling anymore. Anger, pain, bitterness. Why did you adopt me?
I never forgot the little girl I saved. Years went by. I moved here, got promoted, and became a prosecutor. I checked in on you from time to time to make sure you were okay. When I found out that your relatives abandoned you, I couldn't ignore that. I'm sorry for everything.
I stayed silent. I didn't know what to say. A couple of days passed. I was recovering. Then, one day, I got a visitor. It was Gustav.
I'm sorry, Sarah. Mom kept saying that Paula was the reason our life was like that, and I believed her. But when you said you shouldn't be held responsible for what Paula did, it got me thinking, and I found out something. It turns out, my father really was a criminal. He did terrible things. When he was arrested, Mom blamed it on Paula. Admitting that her husband was a criminal was much harder. I don't want to be mad at everyone anymore. I shouldn't have done that to you. I'm so sorry, Sarah. Please.
Okay, let's forget about it. I make mistakes too.
Friends? friends. You're lucky you caught me in a good mood.
After getting discharged, I came back home. When I walked in, I didn't know what to say. It felt like we'd already talked about everything, but something was still missing. I'm sorry for saying all those things. I was angry and confused. You've always been there for me.
I'm sorry too. I went too far. I wanted to protect you, but I put too much pressure on you. Things will be different now.
We hugged like a real happy family. A lot changed after that. Gustav became a real friend to me. We studied together and sometimes hung out after school. He started to work part-time cleaning and repairing bicycles because he wanted his mom to be proud of him.
You always told me to be good, but we were both full of resentment this whole time. I didn't want to admit that your father was guilty. That would have meant I'd made a mistake.
Now I know that family isn't the person who gave birth to you. It's someone who stays with you even after everyone else leaves, who doesn't give up even when you push them away, who accepts you for all your quirks. Mom, let's buy these curtains!
Of course, sweetheart.
Justice doesn't always look like gentle smiles. Sometimes it's a strict prosecutor with a cold look in her eyes. However, now I know that that prosecutor has a big, warm heart. She gets scared and makes mistakes like everyone else. I'm not running anymore because I finally know where I belong. I found a home and my truth.